Hey, movie fans. So the box office really can't catch a break now, can it? So it seems like ever since, that thing that happened in 2020, it feels like every couple weeks and every couple months, there's always some new article going, oh, it's the death of movie theaters. Streaming has killed it. That thing that happened in 2020 killed it. Movie theaters are on their way out. They're dying. I don't know if I'm fully convinced of that just yet. However, it doesn't look good. But I don't think it's as dire as everyone's making it out to be. So what I wanted to do with this video today is let's actually look at the situation that's happening with movie theaters, why it's bad, why it will never get back to the level that it was before 2020, but why that may not necessarily be a bad thing, and why I think movie theaters in the long run will be just fine if they can wait just a little bit longer. But the typical YouTuber thing before we dive into all that, if you like what you see and you want to see more, subscribe to the channel so you keep up to date with all the latest Uncharted media stuff. But without further ado, the box office, going to the actual movie theater. Who does that anymore? Apparently, not the average American, which, looking at this economy, I don't blame you. But also, looking at the selection for this year, I don't blame you. So why am I doing this video now? It's because after this past weekend for Memorial Day, which is typically a very, very good day and very good weekend for movies, that was not the case this year. This is the lowest box office for Memorial Day weekend in 29 years. You had Mad Max Furiosa and Garfield, neither of which particularly did well. But that's not a new trend. The Fall Guy, which I still maintain is my favorite movie of the year so far, flopped tremendously, despite the fact that it's a great movie. It's for the most part an original idea, even though it's based off a TV show from the 80s. It's whatever. It's what people have been asking for, a fun, original concept movie that you can take your whole family to. When that comes out, no one sees it. But unfortunately, that's not a new thing. Between this year and last year, there have been so many flops when it comes to the box office and the financials of movies, which there's a lot of factors into that. One of them being the rising cost of production for most of these movies nowadays. Why do movies have to cost upwards of $200 million nowadays? I don't understand it. Can we please go back to the mid-level budget movies? And maybe then you can actually turn a profit. But we're seeing more and more movies just fail to live up to their financial expectations, and they're losing their studios a lot of money. And people are very quick to point the finger at, oh, it's streaming. Why would I go out to see a movie when I could just see it at home in like a month? Which that's part of it, but I don't think it's the whole thing. I just don't know if there's been the quality of movies that will actually get the average American out to go see a movie. There's just hasn't been a lot of options. There's a light at the end of the tunnel, but it's scary to get to that point. I also think when it comes to the movie experience over the past 4 years in particular, it gets unfairly compared to what happened directly before. So when it comes to movies and movie theaters and the box office and whatnot, the past 10 or so years from like 2010 to 2019 were a ridiculous boom period. Yeah, you still had your flops like John Carter or The Lone Ranger or Jupiter Ascending, stuff like that. But by and large, it was on a trajectory unseen before in the movie landscape. You had tremendous successes. Look at the year 2019, the last normal year for movies. 2019 produced nine movies that made over $1 billion. There have been 54 movies that have grossed over $1 billion. 9 of them came out in 2019. That year alone was so incredibly stacked. So no matter what happened in the world, 2020 was going to be a down year compared to the previous year. We just kept going up and up and up from a box office perspective that eventually we would have to level off or start to dip. We just, didn't think it would dip that badly. And yeah, that thing had a huge impact on everything. But for better, for worse, any form of change takes time. Things took a while to get into production again. It took a while for things to ramp back up. We had a little bit of hope there in 2022 because all the things that got delayed coming out of that released in 2022 when everyone was going back to the theater. So 2022 was a bit of a bounce back year. But in 2023, we had the writers and actors strike. Now we're still getting the ramifications of that. You had a lot of movies that were almost ready to go or about to go into production. That's not something you can just, pick up at a moment's notice and just drop that movie back in theaters. Anything big requires time. There are a lot of movies coming that can save the box office, but they're gonna take time, unfortunately, which is just the most difficult thing, is the waiting game. Because again, that writer's strike, it delayed a lot of things. The same thing happened with the television strike back in, I believe that was 2007, 2008. There was a lot of recurring issues that came with that got bumped back down. So we're gonna see the ripple effects for the writer's strike going into 2025. Some cases 2026, it shuffled the entire schedule around. And since we had the strike for so long, we just don't have new content. We have stuff that might have already been scheduled to come out, but by and large, 2024, I've said for a while, feels like a filler year because it doesn't feel like there's the quality of movies. So when people say, oh, the box office is dying, I kind of think that's the case for 2024, just because people haven't been given that many options to pick from. So they're just choosing to stay home, and they're choosing to stay home because streaming services, are just taking over. However, streaming is not nearly as strong as it used to be. There are signs that we're seeing every single week that something changes in the streaming landscape. I'm not saying streaming is on its way out. I will never say that, but it has definitely reached its peak, and we're coming down streaming wise. A lot of companies like Disney, like Paramount, like Warner Brothers are realizing, oh crap, there is not as much money to be made here than we initially expected. It's why you're seeing a lot more ad-supported tiers of Netflix or Max or Disney Plus, because they need that ad revenue, almost like the cable model. I know that's the common comparison, but it's 100% true. You can make a lot more money with advertising than just having the one customer base recurring monthly payments each month. It sucks, but that's the way it's going to be. But also, more and more streaming services are realizing, oh crap, this is not an investment that's paying off for us. We're gonna have to bundle. So I believe it's Netflix, Peacock, and Apple TV now have a bundle that you can get through if you're a Comcast subscriber. And then Disney and Hulu just recently merged together. They've been a company, but now having them all under one umbrella. So with streaming no longer being nearly as dominant as it used to be, don't get me wrong, it's still the top name in the market, and it's definitely hurting the movie theater industry. But with it not being nearly as dominant as it used to be, how do movie theaters rebound, if ever? Honestly, just be patient. It sounds difficult, but I think this is a much more important conversation to have at the end of next year, the end of 2025, because I said this is a filler year for movies. Let's be honest, it's not really the best year for quality or just movies that are really going to grab the average audience. 2025, that's the revenge of the movie theater. That is when movie theaters more than likely will come back swinging. They won't reach 2019 levels, but 2025 is absolutely stacked, and that really is going to be the ultimate litmus test. You got a lot of strong titles coming out in 2025 that the casual movie fan will be very much interested in seeing. You got Sam Wilson as the new Captain America Brave New World. You got the upcoming Minecraft movie, which, say what you want about that, but Minecraft has a huge demographic that I'm sure will all flock out to this movie. You got Ralph Macchio and Jackie Chan both reprising their iconic roles in their respective Karate Kid movies to have the ultimate crossover film. You got Mission Impossible 8. You got the upcoming John Wick spin-off Ballerina starring Ana de Armas. You got the next Jurassic Park movie. You got James Gunn's Superman. You got Marvel finally introducing the Fantastic Four into the equation. You got Black Phone 2, Mortal Kombat 2, Avatar 3. Avatar, say what you want about those, but those make a lot of money for the box office. So 2025 is absolutely loaded with movies that both the diehard movie fans and the casual movie fans, because that's who we really need to go back to the movie theater, is the casual movie fans. There's plenty of movies for everybody next year, but we just gotta wait, and that's difficult. So what are the short-term remedies that might help movie theaters? Well, they're already kind of implementing some of them to varying degrees of success, and that's re-releases. You're getting a whole bunch of movies that generations didn't actually get to see in the theater, like the Sony Spider-Man series that they've been doing. So basically, they've been re-releasing every single Spider-Man movie theatrically every Monday for the past 10 or so weeks. The Tobey, the Andrew, the Tom, and even the Miles Spider-Verse movies each week. Now you had a whole generation of kids that never got to see the Tobey ones that flocked out to go see those. Those are incredibly cheap and easy to re-release because you don't need a whole lot of advertising revenue for that. There's no additional production costs. It's not like you're making a new movie, just re-releasing a movie that an audience may never have seen before. Those re-releases did well. Re-releases in general did pretty well in the pandemic era. Re-releases really can work because they're cheap. You just put them back in the theater, and there's going to be diehard fans of that material that'll go out and see it. That could be a good stopgap till we get to 2025, which I really think the movie theater's luck will start to turn around in 2025. It's not all doom and gloom. 2024 looks real rough, but just be patient. Things just are cyclical. Just a lot of things happen. They come, they go. They got highs, they got lows. Just be patient. Everything will be fine. TV has threatened movie theaters in the past. Movies ended up being just fine. Movie theaters have been threatened with their life many times over. They're still here. I'm not screaming the end of things just yet. Just gonna look a little different. Well, what do you guys think? Do you think movie theaters will ever rebound to the heights that they had before 2020? Or do you think we're just in a new era? Or do you think movie theaters are just on their way out entirely? Whatever your thoughts, let me know down in the comments below. Always like hearing from you guys. And as always, if you like what you see and want to see more, subscribe to the channel. And as always, stay sharp, movie guys and gals.